Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Oh, the time has come. Finally, we are going to be crowning the champion of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan as we go racing for the final time this season. It is, of course, the playoff final here. 166 laps for the AMRT Grand Final. It's myself, Cameron Roger, Dylan Coyle alongside me, and of course, Dane Baird on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you through the final stages of this amazing championship that has been going on for almost 9 months now. We started way back in August of 2023 at Daytona before working our way all over the United States to some short tracks, to some super speedways before we hit the round of 15 and Chicagoland to start the playoffs before we worked our way through the 4 races that have led us to 5 final drivers remaining in the championship. Of course, there's plenty of other drivers still out there on tracks trying to just get themselves a race victory. But this is where we've ended up. Jesper Eriksson won the regular season with 6 wins and by quite a country mile as well with the amount of extra bonus playoff points that he had. But as we went through the stages, he struggled in this playoff, but he managed to get himself in the number 1 position coming into this championship final. But of course, we have Alex Aroldsson as well in behind, who's looking strong. He's the strongest in the playoffs so far. But of course, Michael Haflidsson as well. He's won 2 of the 4 races in this playoff. And then you can't forget Linus Broström, who's always there. Mr. Consistent finally got himself a race victory as well midway through the season. And then Dan Solo with an absolute blinder coming through his way in the playoffs and doing an amazing job to jump up into that top 5 after not having the best season that he would have wanted. Here are some of the stats on the screen for you. So Jesper Eriksson, 6 wins, 5 top 10s, and first in the regular season. Then you've got Alex Aroldsson. He's got 3 wins to his name, 8 top 10s as well, 6th in the regular season. We have got Michael Haflidsson with 4 wins, 9 top 5s. But let's see how this works out, because Haflidsson has been one of these drivers who gets himself in a couple of wrecks here and there, but he gets those wins when it matters. Linus Broström getting that 1 win, 11 top 5s, 3rd in the regular season, and Dan Solo at the bottom, the 1 win to his name, 6 top 5s, so the least out of any of the drivers. But as we know, when we come into these playoffs, it is basically just whoever finishes first today or is leading out of these 5 cars, no matter where it is on the track, they will be winning this championship. And Dylan, I'll bring you in as we discuss what the thoughts are coming into this amazing championship. There is Michael Haflidsson on your screen. Can he take home a 3rd win out of the playoffs? He's obviously listening along. Can he take a 3rd win out of the playoffs and try and get himself that championship?
I mean, that's the all-important thing. It's not necessarily about how you win this race. It's about how you beat 4 other drivers in this 24-car field. Homestead Miami Speedway has got a ton of grooves, and a lot of work can be done, both on the low side, the high side, pretty much anything. You can find some speed there, and Haflidsson has definitely proven himself to be one of the top drivers in this field this season. And it's not necessarily, you know, Jesper Eriksson number 1 or anybody else number 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5. They're all tied, right? It doesn't matter. They're not getting stage points. There's no bonus points. Whoever is the highest finishing driver at the end of this race, whether we go laps or time distance, if there's a lot of cautions, will be the champion of this league by the end of this race. So really, it's just managing your position along with the 4 others that are competing alongside you for the title.
You can't get involved with a wreck with someone who's not fighting for the championship. That would just be absolute carnage. But there's a few teams at stake. We've got Eriksson and Aroldsson there for Force Esports. We'll get to that team a little bit later on. Then we've got Haflidsson and Solo for Alcantech. Then Linus Broström on his own for Bright Esports. So it's 2v2v1. But then, of course, there's plenty of other teammates out there, Dylan. I wonder if they can get involved somehow to try and get their drivers in between others, and hopefully it all stays pretty clean, but you never know when there's 166 laps of action.
Yeah, usually, you never want teammates of other drivers to get involved in a championship battle, but they are teammates, right? So they're still going to do some annoying bit of blocking if they have a shot to help their championship competing teammates win this title. I mean, you're not going to see massive blocking, and if you do, that's not necessarily the race etiquette that you'd expect from your fellow competitors. But if you're about to get lapped and you can help out your teammate by maybe aero blocking from up front, then maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing to do. They're going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to get by.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one. 166 laps, and the stage is at lap 60, but there's no stage points for the final 5, so that doesn't really affect them too much. Fuel is going to be about 50 laps or so, so we are expecting a 3-stop strategy and a time drop-off over the stint up to 1.5 seconds. There could be some quite interesting tyre strategies, as we saw just a couple of weeks ago when we saw the race go green. And what that left us is some big differentials of drivers pitting early and then some staying out longer and longer, waiting for a caution. We had this big differential, and the new tyres really were worth quite a lot. And into the qualifying session we'll go, though, as we'll turn our attention to that because that is going to be very important. And of course, you'll see the blue names of the playoff drivers. Yes, Ericsson continuing his way up towards the front, but actually over the course of the season so far, it's Aronson with the most poles, but Dan Solo in the 13 jumping up into P1.
Yeah, how about that? Dan Salo in that 13 machine, up by 100th over Jesper Eriksson. Currently, 3 of the 5 competitors are in the top 4 in this provisional qualifying session. We haven't seen Arnoldson or Linus Broström, who's on your screen right now, set a qualifying lap. They'll have enough time to set 2 laps for themselves here. Daniel Holmer goes to the top of the board in that 79 car by 12 thousandths over Salo. We'll see where Broström slots in here. 7th.
Oh, that is still a pretty decent starting place, though, but he's behind, crucially, 3 drivers in the playoffs. I mean, you could win this championship by finishing P20 if everyone else is behind you, but you never know what is going to happen over the course of the 166 laps. Here is Alex in the 24 having his run for Force Esports as he comes across the line. Just a minute remaining. He has got the most pole positions so far this season, and he's had some dominant victories as well when he gets up towards the front. But he does have the lowest finishing position, though, out of the 5 drivers remaining. Despite being good in qualifying, getting some wins, he's had some pretty tricky races where he hasn't been able to get through the traffic as Marcus Hogman there jumps up into P6 as the 24 works his way around.
Yeah, we'll see exactly where he slots out here. He was cradling that final seam at the bottom. His left side tires were just down underneath it. He crosses the line. The time, 6th place. So Linus Broström is going to be last of the 5 drivers, but they all qualify within the top 9, the top 10 positions of this final race at Homestead Miami Speedway.
And this is only certainly heating up very nicely towards this championship battle. We have the drivers towards the top, and they now need to work their way through. Qualifying doesn't mean everything, but it does look like, of course, Dan Solo is going to be, on that front row at least, but he's got a non-playoff driver ahead of him. And if Homer can sort of do some bits at the front and get involved, then that certainly will be interesting. Here is your final grid for the season. The 79 of Dan Solo is on that pole position with Dan Solo alongside him. So Homer and Solo on that front row, Ericsson and Gunnarsson on your second row. Of course, Gunnarsson, your reigning champion, but he won't be going for the championship this time around. Haflidason and Aronson will round out your 3rd row, so 4 of the 5 up inside that top 6. Hogman and Blix are on your 4th row, with Linus Broström and Peter Helmbro, multiple pole position driver this season, but he's down in P10. Lundberg and Holmbaum from P12, and of course Broström, the final of the playoff drivers there in P9. Fredriksson and Uven is having a solid playoffs, but struggling a little bit more today in P14. Bjorn Broström then 15th place. Anton Ullman in 16th, a little bit low down than he would have wanted. Jonas Fords in 17th place and Kenneth Tier in 18th. Kenneth also having a pretty solid playoff season. Skoglund and Erling are inside your top 20 with Johansson and Eriksson. Then Salander and Håkan Schott inside your top 24, and I do believe actually that is the 24 drivers for the grid. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, it's the AMRT Grand Final, which is proudly sponsored by Johansson and Haflidason for this race. Here's your race information. 166 laps, stage at lap 60, 5 tyre sets. We are expecting a 3-stop. So therefore 4 sets of tyres, so they really have 1 set remaining. Should be at cautions at the right time. 80% fuel capacity as ever, and then some green-white checkers available if we have time by the time we get to the end of this race. And I wonder, Dylan, could a championship be decided in that green-white checker? That would be certainly be quite an interesting one.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you have some cautions late in the race, what's the saying? Cautions breed cautions. We would definitely get the full use maybe of 3 green-white checkers. You know, if I have to pick a driver here that is not Jesper Eriksson that has got the best chance to win, I don't think you can look any further than Michael Haflidason. Now, this series has only went to Homestead, Miami once before. You see in the bottom right side of your screen. Michael, he started 9th in that race, but he did end up winning it. Jesper Eriksson got pole position, but ended up in 3rd. Linus Broström did not have the race he wanted in 11th. But Salo, I mean, he wrecked out, finished 12 laps down in that one. This is the first time in this series that Arlson has ever raced at Homestead, Miami. So it'll be interesting. Only 1 pace lap before we get going here.
Yeah, then the tension certainly builds for these drivers. It's been a long, long season. The 31st of August, 2023, we started, and then we come all the way towards this dusky setting at Homestead, Miami. It's a very interesting track, actually, of how it's going to work. As you mentioned, Dylan, with the grooves, the lines that you can do. The corners are very tight, to be honest, for this style of track, but very fast at the same time. So time management is going to be key over the long runs, and is going to be very good indeed. The pace truck comes in as we'll have Dan Holman, the 79, to bring us to the green for the final time this season. We get underway as the AMRT Grand Final here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and we get underway to work out who is going to be our champion for this season. It looked like it was a pretty solid start at the front there. The 79 is going to hold it to that inside line as we still say 2 by 2 coming around the exit of turn 2 on towards this back straight as they're already rubbing up towards the wall.
Yeah, already you'll start to see these drivers fan out. The inside might be the dominant one early on, but you already see some cars, especially up front, trying to have that high groove. Oh, goodness, this track is so good for great championship battle racing. Lap 1 is complete.
Well, certainly is, as Solo's up right high against the wall. Of course, that is somewhat good for the tyres, but then that opens the door for the 37 of Jesper Eriksson to work his way through into that 2nd place. The 13 comes down, uses that momentum, might be able to get him back once again into turn 3. So they swap lines as the 37 goes high. And as ever, Michael Haflidason there sitting in that 4th position as he works his way through. So all staying fairly calm at this moment in time. You see the green highlighted car of Linus Broström a little bit further back. He's the lowest of the top 5.
Yeah, lowest of the top 5 right now. That's exactly where he started, but you start to see Eriksson utilizing that high line, getting a little bit squirrely on exit. He's got to utilize the exit of each corner there in turns 1 and 2 to get the most amount of speed. The high line gives you momentum, but it is a farther way around the racetrack. You see a car into the wall in the back.
Yeah, Peter Helmrose, 77, I believe that was. Just went up high through turn 3. Didn't see if there was a nudge to help that, but maybe just taking too much speed into it. It looks like he's continuing on, though, but he definitely rubbed up against the wall. There'll be damage to the right-hand side of that 77 machine. That's early on in the race to get the damage. You does see a few cars are liking that higher line and trying to make it work, but we have got down to single-file conditions.
For now. For now, they're going to start to continue to fan out. You see the top 6 all running that bottom line right now. You saw them all on lap 1 fan out to the outside line in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, they are very similar. Not really anything different about them, but you will see some cars decide that, hey, they feel more comfortable running up high in 1 and 2 and then taking the low line in 3 and 4. It's really driver preference, and wherever the grip is, as this sun continues to go down, the track will cool off just a little bit, making the grip levels different.
Yeah, that's going to be a factor throughout the race as, of course, the darkness will change how the car feels. In the background, though, is that Lundberg going around on the exit of 4. Is that going to bring out the first caution as you go on to lap 6? We do stay under green flag. He's managed to keep that going. He's lost the front bumper, though. So, unfortunately, he's going to be coming back down pit road. We won't really be able to continue on with that one, I don't suppose. But we stay green, and that is potentially good for some people.
It looked like it was Helmbro already down into the pits. Lundberg was the driver in the wall right there. We'll have to get exactly a point of what happened. Here is Peter Helmbro, a view from his angle. He went high up into the wall. That was a lap before. Remember, we were seeing somebody get into the wall there, and there were 2 cars to his inside. He didn't necessarily know.
Yeah, definitely got a bit hip checked there. And there's Lundberg. He had some contact with one of the Force cars. Might be about Cedric Holmbaum is around him for P12. And yeah, just a nudge on the front was enough to send that car flying off into the wall. But we've remained under green flag conditions on to lap 8 now. Homer still leading the way with 4 playoff drivers in behind him. And then we have Eric Blixt in the 95 who's trying to get involved. Of course, he's got 2 teammates up ahead that he could help if he can try and get in front of them. The first one is that 24 of Alex Aronson, who is looking pretty racy up at the back of Dan Homer, or Solo, I should say, towards turn number 3 and getting close but not making a move.
Now, something to think about is because these fuel tanks are restricted to 80%, they're not going to be as expected to make the tires last as long as they would if it was a 100% fuel tank, meaning they can push just a tiny bit harder, especially early on here before the tires really start to get screaming at them. That can end up with some more intense driving through each bit of racing that we get here. Should be kind of a 3-stop race potentially, because you can go 50 to 52 laps. That's not going to get you all the way to 166 laps if we stay green. Some will try and stretch it, though, I'm sure, into 2-stop racing.
Yeah, if we get a caution or so each stint, I definitely think we'll see some drivers try and do it on just a 2-stop, try to go towards 60 laps a stint, but it of course depends when that comes, and so far it is looking very clean actually out there. Niels Brostrom's dropped outside the top 10 though in the background. The 42 has got past him and he's now under attack even further. That is her Holmbaum then, the number 10 machine, trying to work slightly higher line through 3 and 4, not quite enough to make that move, but Linus definitely struggling the most out of those playoff drivers, and he's gonna have to try and work his way up, but we do know he is better generally on the strategies. We come back into the top 5, and Aronson has worked his way past the 13 of Solo as well, so we've got 2 Auckland techs in behind, as Aronson is just seeing that gap opening up a little bit ahead of him.
Yeah, that gap continues to open to 0.8 between Holmer and Ericsson. Right now, Ericsson doesn't have to worry about the race win. He is currently in the driver's seat for the championship. Still very early on, though. The top 4 in this championship, all separated by 1 position each. Linus Brostrom continues to lose spots. Speaking about Linus, he won the first championship in the Svenska Eracingligan Oval Series. This is season number 6. But ever since then, Brostrom has finished second, third, and second by the time the season winds down. So right now, it's not looking great at the start here, but stranger things have happened, and he just needs to hang around, stay on the lead lap until the end of this race, see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough when you when you come second so many times, but it definitely shows that he has the historic ability to be able to get into these positions. Just needs to be obviously getting his way up the field. But I think he is probably just thinking of the longer game. He's got his teammate up there. The 79 still leading the way as we come on to lap 14. And Homer looking very, very strong at this moment in time. So he has that card in his back pocket later on in the race. Does Brustrom having that teammate up there? As in second place is Jesper Eriksson, who led the way throughout the regular season. And he had so much of a lead that even with a pretty I wouldn't say terrible, but pretty difficult playoffs.
Cannot believe
his standards. He certainly, is enjoying that one a little bit more today, as Haflidsson in behind. I think he's enjoying being in that third place.
Do you think he's listening to our broadcast, or he sees the broadcast in one part of a screen, or he's being told that he's on the broadcast whenever he waves?
I wonder if it's on the Zoom call, if Dane is giving them the feed, and then he's able to see that. Oh, yeah. As Dane confirms that to me, he's able to see that, so he can see when he's on the camera. So, hi, Mum, get the camera as he's working his way towards the championship.
That's too funny. He still has to make up some ground to Jesper, and we still have 151 laps, or 150, I should say, laps remaining in this race. And you can start to see the lap times are falling off just a little bit, around a half second since the start, predicted to drop around a second and 2/10 by the time that each green flag run does end. And you'll start to see some drivers who maybe have qualified a little bit further back in the field, who have pushed themselves up the field. Alex Arnoldson, we saw him really pushing it early on. He might drop back as this run continues, but Danny Salo is definitely watching, as he's got a hornet's nest of drivers led by Eric Blixt in the 95 and 6th place, trying to charge up and pass him.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit close for comfort on the exit of 2. So that's Blix. He's got the white car in behind of Fredriksson diving. It's inside of 3. The 95 should be able to just bring that down and cover it off. We've got Hogman going wide there in the 12, trying to use that high line as he tries to get on the back of his teammate. And then, of course, Gunnarsson as well, reigning champ, going to be losing that number 1 car for next season. But he gave it a really good go. Got himself in towards the final 10, just not enough for the final 5. Hogman riding the wall almost there through 1 and 2 as he continues to use that high line.
This track is so good for any bit of racing, any kind of racing here, but especially as a championship finale, it just serves up some great passing opportunities, cars running different lines all the way through. It's the progressive banking at Homestead Miami Speedway, where the lower on the in the corners is lower banked than up against the wall. That's why you see different lines, and almost that Tyler Reddick line where you just kind of run against the wall and there's almost a piece of paper that won't even fit between the right side of the car and that outside wall. But you see Haflidsson is really starting to turn up the heat on Jesper Eriksson right now, but they're running similar lines, and this is where aero blocking the pass, the lines that the drivers use in front, it's harder. That dirty air makes it hard to keep up with the cars in front. I'm surprised that Michael is not trying to go up that high line right now.
I was just thinking that he's not really trying to get offline. He's not trying to do anything. He's trying to sit on the back of Eriksson, and maybe why is because he's going for the overtake in towards 3, and Eriksson's not going to argue with that one too much as the 81 holds it down towards the apron, just having a bit of a slide there mid-corner, trying to get back on the power. They run up wide to the wall on the exit of 4, and Eriksson keeps the momentum to get the position back across the line, but Haflidsson will then have the inside line once more to dive it back down the inside. Nice battle between these two as they go for second place. And of course, this would be the championship position, whoever is leading this one. But if more contact between the two.
Yeah, this is what you want if you're Jesper Eriksson. If you want to have a battle with a driver in the championship, you want them to try and run the low side, and you just stick around on the outside. The inside line is gonna lose some of that momentum quicker as Haflidsson got, again, quite tight through mid-corner and ended up pushing Jesper out of the way. In doing that, though, Cam, he lost a lot of potential tire life.
Oh, absolutely. They just, used a little bit of that for that position. And was it worth it? We'll have to find out later on in the stint. Haflidsson was actually really good on his tyres back in the previous race. That is really what helped him with the victory on that day. And this battle has brought the 24 of Eriksson back in a little bit. He's only 3/10 behind now. But Eriksson is not letting the 81 go. He's staying on that back bumper, trying to get closer and closer as we work our way through to the midpoint of this opening stage at Homestead Miami, lap 60. We'll get the stage, but of course we remain under green.
Yeah, we're staying under green for now. 22 drivers on the lead lap of this race, but pretty much only 19 drivers in any sort of battle with anybody else on track at the moment. Flitterson has now taken his foot off the throttle just a little bit. I mean, right now, it's not necessarily about being the fastest when you do have the championship lead. It's about being able to be as slow as possible and still hold that championship lead. You don't want to burn too much of the tires up, which he certainly did in that fight with Jesper Eriksson. If it helped anybody most of all, it helped Alexander Arnoldson, who already was suffering from some potential tire loss from his run-in earlier in this green flag stretch. By the way, Danny Salo has now lost a place to Oscar Fredriksson, and Salo is now in the P6.
Yeah, I was just looking at that myself, and I was also more so worried about the time gap rather than just the positions, because they've dropped off by coming off for 3 seconds now. So that's a little bit worrying. If we stay under green flag conditions, we did go green the whole race last time out, and not for the first time this season as well. We've done it before this season, going green all these enders, all this huge wobble in the background. Is that for Solo? Actually, it might be. Loses a position to his teammate Blix, so Solo not enjoying that one. I think Blix is just going to give him that place back, being teammates. But certainly the 13 struggling quite a lot, as Brewstrom has also dropped down to P13. So is it really turning into a 3-horse race?
It really seems to be, at least over the course of halfway through a green flag run. Now, if we get cautions, things to bunch the field back up, we'll have to see exactly where these drivers will fall. But on pure pace, pure speed, it looks like Flitterson and Eriksson with Alexander Arnoldson hanging on by are the 3 drivers that will compete for this championship if we have long green flag stretches. Danny Salo, 30 seconds behind this battle. He's got to do something quickly to get back going here. And Linus Brostrom, he is really suffering greatly from this race. And it's not surprising for Linus compared to where he did finish on pure speed at Homestead last year. Remember, 11th place in that one. And this is not serving him up well, currently running in 12th.
There's a little bit of slide there from the 81. I think the tire's starting to go off because Holmer at the front is really slowing down. He's bunched up this top 3. Surely the 81 is going to have to go for it on the inside line here. The 37 will try and follow him through in the background, but the 79 is still looking good, but I think he's struggling after being in the lead. Maybe just pushing a little bit too much. Yes, sliding the rear end once more as Flitterson is having to defend. On the inside line goes the 37. It's going to be almost 3 wide coming in towards turn 3. A huge risk from these drivers battling with someone, the 79, who's not in this battle for the championship. But 3 wide we go through turn 3. Flitterson on the middle line is going to just about take the race lead, but Eriksson is going to try and follow him through on Homer, which he has done. So both of them get through, but the 81 keeps that position.
Oh, that was some great racing right there, and it's given another opportunity for Alexander Arnoldson to get into this championship battle. He's got to make a move on Daniel Homer right here, right now, to stay up with Flitterson and Eriksson. It looks like he's doing just that, heading into turn 3. He's just slid the car, licked that stamp, sent it on overnight shipping.
I'm worried now for the 79 of Dan Homer, losing 3 places in a lap or 2. He's just going to be going backwards, and we still have 20 laps of this stint, if the numbers we were told by Linus are accurate. But I will believe them, as lap 50 or so is what it's going to be. But the 81 slides there. The 37 does a hit check on the wall coming out of turn 2. They are starting to struggle already. This is going to be a tough one. If we go long green flag, they want to cool these tyres down or maybe get some new ones. Wide he goes once more in turn 4, but the 37 can't quite get the momentum.
Yeah, 37 trying everything that he can do. Jesper Eriksson to get around Flitterson or just to save some fuel. It's going to be, you know what, I feel like these drivers all know, as we see the last time out at Homestead, Miami, where they finished, I think they all know where they are standing in terms of pit strategy. They're going all out right now. They're not saving that much fuel. Time is around a second off of their best lap right now, their last lap, that is. So I think at that point, they know this is going to have to be a 3-stop race, probably with a stop on lap 52, then maybe 104, and then 156 for a quick dash to the end there. They're hoping for a caution that would maybe change this into a 2-stop race, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't think so, because now we're so late into the stint. If there's caution now, you kind of need to pit to get the new tyres. So I don't think anyone is going to be trying to hold it out that long. So I think they, as you say, they are confirming. They're just pushing for this 3-stop. And let's see how this one works out. The top 3 are playoff drivers. Got Haflids in the 81, Ericsson in the 37, and Aronson in the 24. Realistically, historically, over the course of the season, it's probably between these top 2 drivers on that pure pace. But Aronson is not too far behind, and he's waiting for his opportunity if these two come together. What a battle we're seeing here in the opening 35 laps or so of this race. 37 led this battle. Is in that second place for a while. They've both got through on Homer, and now they're batting for the win, or for the lead, at least at this time. The 37 is going to get to the inside of turn number 1. The 81 is going to leave him the room. They go side by side, squeezing down towards the apron. The 81 does want to let him ride up too high, get on that power too early, and to come on towards the back straight. The 81 continues to have the momentum.
Well, right now, Michael Haflidsson is doing exactly to Jesper Eriksson what Jesper was doing to Michael earlier in this run. When Haflidsson got up around Jesper Eriksson, he forced him, Eriksson did to Haflidsson, to go around the low side. That way, Haflidsson, would use a lot of the tire life up. Now, Eriksson is being forced to the bottom, not through 1 and 2, though. A little bit squirrely there mid-corner from Michael Haflidsson. Might open up the door for Jesper Eriksson to go down the low side. Will he be able to make the move? He's going to have full commitment. And look at that, a bit of a dipsy-do, and goes to the outside here at 3 and 4.
It's amazing just how fine the margins are here. Just the tiniest slide and your opponent is going to get through. But that wasn't a tiny slide. That was a pretty decent one there for the 81 as Eriksson is coming to the inside line, trying to get the race lead back. Can he do it up the inside line? He's been trying for a couple of laps now, but the 81 seems to get better drive on that mid-line as he comes through the exit of turn 2. The 37 is keeping his nose there, but once more, that mid-line seems to be a bit better to get the run onto the straight.
Yeah, it's definitely going a lot better for Eriksson than I feel like it would if Haflidsson just took that high line away. Both of them getting a bit loose and oversteering it through turns 3 and 4. I mean, this is a great battle right now. Haflidsson is doing everything he can to keep Jesper Eriksson behind, but it opened up the door down the bottom of 1 and 2. They're going to be side by side on the exit, heading down the backstretch. Oh, Eriksson!
Big slide from the both of them, but especially the 37, who managed to save it, keep it in check for second place. But I was just going to say this as well, as we are on lap 37 as well, they need to be careful not to lose the championship in this opening stint. Of course, it's important to be leading at this point in the race just for a bit of momentum going later on, but is it worth wrecking the car? And that's what the 37 almost did.
Oh man, that was quite wild right there for both drivers involved. Here's a replay of what happened heading into turn 1. I mean, Haflidsson got a bit tight, understeered through the entry of the corner. It opened up the door for Jesper Eriksson. However, you get on the throttle down low, you can't take the full width of the track going up outside of 2. Good save from Eriksson. He just lost time.
Yeah, and he's right on the back as well, but needs to be careful not to be putting too much heat into those rear tyres, too many slides. And we are getting to that point where it's already about 10 laps left of this opening stint. We've stayed green the whole race so far. Haflidsson has got the lead. Solo's dropped down another place. He's batting with Fredriksson. He's dropped down to now 6th place. And of course, Homer has dropped down from the lead, but he's continued in that 4th position. After these three getting past, there's a little bit of a mix of lines there. Haflidsson still not able to get down the power how he would have wanted. The 37 has a huge run towards the inside of the first corner. They squeeze each other, almost door banging. They run up wide, high, trying to get the best line onto the straight, but the 37 might just have this done on the back straight.
My question is Alexander Arnoldson just waiting in the wings for these two to knock each other out of this championship fight? He's been right there the whole time, and theoretically, he should have more speed than both of them running side by side to get by.
Yeah, this is such an amazing battle because it's almost not needed at this point in the race. They could be sitting in behind saving fuel, but they're not. They're going for the championship. Up the inside, we still have the 81, almost a bit of contact between the two. He squares the car off, gets it down, tries to get on the power, but the 37 on the outside line, that seems to be good. Coming on towards the back straight, we're looking on board from the 24 of Aronson, who's just sitting, waiting for his opportunity. The 37 is going to cut across the nose there and just hold on to that battle. The 81, I should say, has the lead as it stands, just cutting the nose out of the 37 and holding on to the lead as it is getting very tight indeed. With over 100 laps still to go in this race, they need to keep a lid on this.
They do, but not for our entertainment. I'm enjoying this very much. This is some great racing, great battling right here. As a reminder, there is an end of stage at lap 60. But even at that point, it's not really going to matter too much because these top three, all the drivers in the championship fight, they won't get stage points whatsoever. It's purely about where they finish at the end of this race.
It certainly is. As Solo gets back past Fredriksson, they're having a nice battle. Oh, I say that. They swap around once more. So the P5, P6 battle is going very nicely. Of course, just losing a little bit of time, though, for the number 13. And it seems like it might be a similar battle to what we've seen. Look at the huge slide here from Ericsson, turning right in a left-handed corner. That's what you want to be doing as we're on towards the back straight now. And it definitely seems like they're on eggshells a little bit with these tyres.
Yeah, they're definitely getting to that point now, but I really do love the fact that these cars are such a handful to drive because they are going as hard as possible on these tires, knowing that they don't have to go as long as they would have if it was a 100% fuel tank. I mean, just look at all the input, all of the steering that has to be put into that car by Ericsson. How about this? Daniel Holmer really deciding that he's going to take advantage of it. And the pit window, I think, has opened in this race, and I'll tell you exactly why. Why would you wait for the tires to fall off even more when you can split it into 3 even halves? Good, smart idea right now, and I expect most of the championship runners to head in very soon.
Yeah, you're right. Either you can do sort of 3 long stints and have a bit of a splash and dash at the end, or you can split it evenly across the race, and that is what Holmer's doing after struggling a little bit mid-part of that stint. Solo up the inside of Fredriksson. That's going to be P4 now, as Solo has come in. Huge wiggle there for the 95, middle of turn 2. That's a bit scary for him as they try and get on the power, and of course Gunnarsson in behind. So this battle, 4-car battle for P4 continues on. Maybe with Holmer coming in, this is going to open up the doors. We're seeing some green flag strategies coming down now as Fredriksson follows him in. Because of the long green flag, some drivers now will be trying the undercut, trying to get on those fresher tyres earlier. Also, we have Aronson in. That leaves Haflinsson out at the front.
Yeah, exactly what I thought. You'd start to see some of the championship competitors head down pit road right now. It makes sense, exactly what you were saying, Cam. But it also makes sense, and it's more exciting that these drivers can even more now push these tires to the farthest extent they possibly can get it. Linus Broström has not gone into the pits yet, which is a bit surprising for me. At this point, he's going to stay out probably as long as he possibly can, but he's going to need a caution almost ASAP.
Yeah, as ever, if you pit under green, you go a lap down. So if you stay out and you get a caution, that is going to be very beneficial for your race. But is it going to go caution? Obviously, we don't have 40 cars out there on the field. There's a bit less, so that does help with things a little bit as you go back to Ericsson, as he's ahead of the 13 now. Obviously, on the track, the 13 still hasn't stopped yet. So it's just over a lap or so that you lose them from doing a pit stop, as Fredriksson has stayed out. So if they stay out longer and longer, they'll also need to take less fuel and they'll have fresher tyres later on in the race. So it's a choice of when you take the faster tyres. Do you want the fast tyres now, get the undercut in this first stint, or do you want to have fast tyres at the end when the championship positions are on the line?
I guess at the end of the day, you've got to go into this race and go into this pit cycle knowing or thinking, believing that this race is going to go green the entire way. It's a small field, right? So we don't expect too many incidents to form from that. If it's a multi-car incident or a car stopped on the track, we didn't see that earlier with Peter Helmbro going down into the inside wall at the pit barrier, but it still could happen where we go green the entire rest of the way. And if that's the case, I don't think Haflidason is doing himself any favors right now unless he tries to make this into a 2-stop race. Look how much he's struggling right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but it did work out because one of the reasons why he won the previous race is because he was just so fast on those fresher tyres, pitting a bit later. I think it was about 8 laps or so fresher tyres he had in the final stint at Dover, and then that is what ultimately brought him the victory. So let's see if it works out here once more. We're on to lap 50, so 10 laps remaining of the stage, but we do remain green at the stage, and pit stops will be needed by everyone in the next couple of laps or so, if the fuel numbers we were told were accurate. So he's going to stay out to go on to lap 50. Solo has remained in behind, and it looks like half the field has pit. Ericsson is leading the way of the drivers who have not. He's now got Aronson just 1.5 seconds in behind him.
We get a look at Tony Uvenin as well as Linus Brostrom. Linus goes down the inside of the 12 and the 84 and takes P5 away. So on this longer stint, Brostrom almost having Uvenin come back into his left rear, but he gets into the back straight end to turn 3. Clear for the time being. Uvenin's going to try and fight on the outside. I think Brostrom's slowing up to go. Maybe no, not into the pits. Uvenin's just way faster. I guess he's on a different strategy of sorts, but oh yeah.
He is in the, Uvenin was in the pit lane.
Oh, it makes
as well.
a lot more sense.
Yes, the 81. This is going to be crucial to see just how big that undercut is. Ericsson's already been out there 5 laps. So what is 5 laps going to do? Their pace, I mean, to be fair, it's going to be a decent way. Their pace, I mean, they're a second a lap faster. So they are going to be a little way up the road. So Haflidason is losing some track position here for the benefit of some fresher tyres later. So Ericsson will ultimately lead the race once everything works out, but we still have some drivers out there at the front. Solo is staying out. We've got Blixt and Gunnarsson, all the Alcantech top 3, as they obviously teammates running a similar strategy, and then Brostrom in 4th place, maybe just hoping, waiting for some sort of safety car, pace car I should say. But having said that, the drivers who have stopped are now back onto the lead laps. They wouldn't be a lap down.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a lap down, and Linus Brostrom still continues to stay out. Hawkinshot is the only driver in the outside of the top 5 that has not gone into pit road at any point in this race. So 17 seconds, 18 seconds, I'd say, separates Salo from Schott, but Jesper Eriksson, Schott's now in the pits. Jesper Eriksson is 25 seconds off of the lead in Danny Salo. I mean, I'm not sure this move makes a lot of sense for a driver like Salo, who's coming into the pits, almost loses it on pit entry. I mean, he tried to run long to wait for a caution. He went 54 laps. Brostrom still continues. So Linus Brostrom, the strategy for him to potentially win this championship is still in existence if he's able to stretch it out a couple more laps. I like the shakeup of strategy if it works out for Linus, because he's got to do something different from the rest of the 4.
Oh, absolutely. So if we divide the race length by 3, that's lap 55 or 55.3. So it's where we are. So if he can get to lap 56, he could do a 2-stop strategy. But is he going to lose so much time being out on those older tyres? As we see Gunnarsson and Blix come in, Brostrom will stay out as the strategy is really working our way towards a 2 versus 3 stop, it looks like. Is it going to be enough, though, for those drivers? Because, you know, they're going to have to fuel save basically for the whole race. They're going to lose a lot of time as well being undercut. So here's Ericsson now towards the front. The only driver ahead of him is Linus Brostrom, and they're already 18 seconds behind, so they've gained basically 15 seconds already with that undercut.
It's a smart move, but Linus Brostrom has now come down pit road. He made it 56 laps on one tank, one full tank, 80% full. To my numbers and what my math, I'm trying to crunch it. That's not enough to make it to the end of this race on a 2-stop strategy. So I feel like that just blew up in his face a little bit.
I think he's going to have to do that basically every stint to get to the end, and then that'll be just enough. but we have the potential for green-white checkers as well. You have to remember. So that might come into it. Of course, he'll be able to sort of do a little splash in that situation, but then he'll go to the back of the line. So it's always a risk of how these things work out. But I think you were right about 10 laps ago when you said everyone is aiming for a green flag race. So what we've left with as we get onto lap 58, we stayed green. We have a couple of laps to go off the stage. Ericsson is leading the way. Aronson in second place. Homer from your pole position is in third. Then Hafliderson, he stayed out quite a bit longer. 5 laps it was, and has dropped him down to 4th place. But it doesn't matter about the stage points because we don't have them in this situation for the playoff drivers. The 24 for the first time might be able to take the race lead. He's up the inside of his teammate. The 37 goes to the midline to try and defend, and he should have the momentum down the back straight, but the 24 is looking racy.
Well, it looks like I can't do math because you're absolutely right on that. It would work for Linus Brostrom for sure if he was able to go 55, 56 laps per stint over the course of 3 stints. It's going to be interesting how those two strategies do come together. He'd be the only one other than maybe Danny Salo who could stretch it out of the 5 championship competitors. But look at this. Alex Arnoldson trying to go down the inside of Jesper Eriksson. We saw how aggressive Arnoldson was at the start of this race. He's now back on fresh tires, of course. And it's actually a 14 laps already for these drivers on this set of tires. So it's not going to be long before we are saying, hey, they're down pit road once again. And by the way, they all have 5 sets of tires. So that's pretty much an additional set for the drivers on this primary strategy to play with if a green-white checker does come out late.
Yes, certainly. But we're at the end of lap 60, so the stage is coming out. It's not going to matter in terms of the points, but it might matter in terms of the track position. As Ericsson comes out the final corner, he wins the final stage of the season. Lap 60 goes, and we have 106 remaining to find the champion. And at the moment, it's looking like it might be one of the 2 teammates, the 37, the 24, battling it out. Just a reminder, no extra stage points for these drivers. It is all about their final finishing position in terms of the championship. Of course, stage points for everyone else in their bid for positions in their own championship. But for the playoffs, we continue racing once more under green flag conditions. Ericsson leading the way.
Yeah, Ericsson currently leading the way. Flitterson, we saw how that strategy did not work out in his favor. He's currently 9 laps into his run, 10 laps, I should say now. He's at the point where it would be tight for him to even think about making it on 2 or 1 more stop. So I feel like that he was caught in between 2 strategies there, and it has not worked out into his way. He's going to have to really catch up with some speed here over the next 20, 30, or 40 laps before pit stops start happening again for all the drivers in the field.
Yeah, one driver I'm very interested to see is that 79, because he's on such different strategy to everyone else, but he's still in a decent position. So he might be able to make something work with this, but he's going to be struggling at the end if we remain on these green flag conditions. So it just depends how the drivers are feeling, and if someone wants to bring out the old pace car for one final time or so this season, as we're already moving around a little bit, getting in towards this mid part of the stint. Of course, it's the AMRT Grand Final here. Hafliderson and Johansson sponsoring this final race of the season, and neither of them are leading the way just yet. It is the Force Esports drivers at the front. And from what we are told, that team is sort of disbanding a little bit after this season. So it would be a good one for them to finish on a high and try and take the championship.
Yeah, it would be an absolutely solid way to end the tenure as a team here, but still a lot of time to go in this race. We're almost to the 100 laps remaining mark, and I'll tell you what, Daniel Holmer's got some speed right now, not competing for the championship, but only 9/10 back of Ericsson for the lead of this race, running in the 79 machine. He's also one of the first drivers who did blink and go down pit road in this race. So he's got older tires than the 2 in front, and he's still holding pretty strong.
Yeah, he is, and I'm liking the look of that 79, but one issue we saw in the previous stint, though, Dylan, was that he just dropped off so much in that final 10 laps of the stint. So is this going to be a similar situation? But maybe it's working because he's still within touching distance of that race lead, and he's got a teammate in behind as well. Here's the stints so far, and you can see just how much longer Brewstrom went. 11 laps it was compared to Ericsson. That is going to be quite a big factor later in the race. And I think, yeah, Brewstrom's just made a move on Kenneth Tier as well in the sort of further back in the track. So it's definitely not working out too badly so far.
Yeah, not working too badly at all. Awesome graphic we've got there. Dane Baird, our producer in this RaceSpotTV broadcast of some Svenska Eracingligan Oval Series action. Always fun. Cam, it's been a while since I've been in the booth with you here.
Certainly. It's been a long season. A few different commentators coming in alongside me, but it's been a while, and it's good to have you back. And it was a good race to choose as well, being the final one.
Yeah, it's nice to jump in here, and I said, "Oh, where are we in the season? Oh, we're at the end. All right, copy."
Well, it's actually been a really good season, to be honest, and obviously my first exposure to this community, and it's been awesome. Just being in the Discord as well. Obviously, I don't speak Swedish, right? But
that's true. I don't either.
You could get the general vibe at least, or we translate something if you really want to know. Was there some smoke there? Or was that just...
I think it was a little bit of smoke in the wall, but not much.
I think, might just been a wall touch. I was getting a little bit worried there that the caution might come out. But yeah, this community has been awesome. And the fact that this is the sixth season that we've had now in this championship, and it's going strong. Got loads of partners involved. So big shout out to all of the partners that have got involved over the course of the season. And they have made this what it is. As we see, have Flidderson there, with I won't mention Kermit the Frog next to his name, but certainly giving him the motivation to try and chase down Dan Holman now for third place.
Yeah, doing a really solid job, but Flidderson's got to make the move soon. He's gained around a second and 2/10 since this cycle completed itself. Flidderson, remember, is on 8-lap fresher tires than the 2 leaders. It is on 10-lap fresher tires than Daniel Holmer. Makes fairly quick work of him, still trying to hang around the outside, but no match for the fresh tires of Michael Flidderson, and that...
Look how calm he looks, though.
He's very calm.
He's very under control. He knows what he's doing. He's chasing down with the faster tyres. He was 0.3 faster than the leader last time, despite making that overtake. So he's looking good. He's 6 laps fresher than Ericsson. And, of course, Holmer, as I said, was 8 laps. So he's got that advantage at this moment in time. He just needs to use it at the right time. And it's going to be a fun one to see how these tyre strategies are going to work out. We've got Anton Uhrmann coming down pit lane, and I didn't quite see why. He's only had 19 laps this stint, so it's a little bit early.
Wonder if there's some damage there. There's no reason that Ullman should be coming down pit road right now, especially with a 19 or 20 lap stint on 4 fresh Goodyear tires. So that's a way off strategy. Not exactly sure what he's doing there, but hey, maybe he knows something that we don't. Currently running in 22nd, about to go a lap down in this race. A caution has come out. Jonas Skoglund on lap 72, the first of this race, and maybe Anton almost called it right there.
Let's have a look at what is the maths saying. Yes, we have 2 stints remaining in this race, so surely everyone will be down pit road, and I don't know if anyone is going to be staying out, but this changes things just a little bit. I'm sure everyone was expecting a full race of green flag, but let's see how this one works out, because the caution has come out and is going to put everyone back on a similar strategy. We had some quite big differentials. We had people saving fuel. We had the likes of Linus Brewstrom going for a 2-stop, but certainly is going to be all changed. Let's see a bit of a replay here. Holmbaum gets into the wall already. Is he then going to catch Skoglund on the front straight? Yes, he is. The 83 comes in. Hard hit there between the 10 and the 83, and the 10... Does he return back to pit lane? I think he might just do, but we come down pit road for the leaders. And as we do, let's get a bit of messages from our partners who have helped us throughout this championship.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
And welcome back to Homestead, Miami, as we rejoin the action behind the pace car. And it is Jesper Eriksson leading the way after that round of pit stops. And actually, for Linus Broström, it hasn't worked out as badly as I was expecting. But this is what brought out the pace truck. Here's Scotland in the 83. We've already got the number 10 spun around. And I think he was expecting him to roll across the track. He does a little bit of a flick to the right-hand side. And unfortunately just smashes into the back of the 10. And that is what's brought out this caution. The first one of the night. We're on to lap 75 of 166, and we can get to the end on one more stop remaining from here, so that's why everyone came in. And we did have some strategy coming the way for us, with some drivers going a bit longer, the likes of Hafliderson going a little bit longer, and then Linus Broström going a lot longer, trying to do that two-stop. But now it's all changed, and we go back to this side-by-side action. And we're just half lap to go before the restart. But Dylan, how do you think this really is going to change things, or is it now just a reset and we go again?
I think it's just kind of a reset right now. Linus Broström, yes, he's going to be starting 6th in this restart, but I believe he only took 2 right side tires on that pit stop. He had an 11.1 second stop compared to a 14.5 second stop. Michael Hafliderson, hello, is going to be starting 2nd on the inside row, just behind Jesper Eriksson. Maybe is going to get right back up to that bumper and push into the corner. We'll have to see as the iRacing pace truck is pacing this field as it both gets darker in the night sky. It's getting to be night, but it's also very cloudy.
Yeah, that must really be cooling down the track. That might help the tyres a little bit. Interesting spot there, as you say, from Linus having a shorter stop, but he also, because he pit so much later, he probably also had less fuel to take. We come back towards the restart, and the AMRT Grand Final is going to get underway with Jesper Eriksson leading us across the stripe, and let's see how the drivers get underway. Was up right against the wall there for the 37, pushing on these fresh tyres now as everyone is bunched back up. Linus Broström, I think, lost a couple of positions, maybe just one position actually, as he has worked his way through, obviously now having to adapt to the strategy that everyone else is on. We are still side by side, many rows deep, coming towards turn number 1, and that's Oscar Fredriksson there in that 4th position, battling with Homer now, who of course led the way early on.
Yeah, Eriksson got way up against the outside wall in turn 2 on the exit of it, and Hafliderson all over Arlsson right now and is trying to make the move down the inside. Arlsson just gives the spot up. It almost seems like Arlsson is comfortable running in 3rd with Eriksson and Hafliderson just fighting each other. Now, as we see this battle for first continue to commence with the top 3 again running away with it, we've got to remember, now with the stint lengths being different, these drivers can probably, what they're probably going to do is they're going to split it up. Instead of a 40 or 55 lap stint, it's going to be right around 45 laps or so each to end this race on one more stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess some might try and go longer and then hope that there's a caution, or try and have the fresh tires at the end. But then again, you pit early and then you get the track position, so that'll be something that they'll have to work out, and it depends how I guess this middle part of the race goes. The top 3 are pulling away, as you mentioned. Homer is now holding up Fredriksson just a little bit. Look at all of the cars backing up in behind. We've got the 13 of Solo there, and then Broström, your final 2 of the top 5, and then so the top 5 all inside the top 7, so as you'd expect up towards the front. But all day it's been these top three who have been pulling away and looking good for this championship. Winner takes all. We still have a lot of time to find out as we're coming up very quickly, actually, to halfway through the race.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are kind of surprised who we're seeing in the top three of this one. It's the three drivers who have all combined for some of the most illustrious careers in this series and in this season as a whole. And they're all closing in quickly on Jesper Ericsson. Arlsson arcs in a little bit more, a little bit higher into the corner. Haflidason followed Ericsson's line almost to a T, but they arc out a little bit sooner. Arlsson should have a bigger run here, but only marginally. I mean, right now they're just riding until the end of this race.
Yeah, as this has come back into a the sort of a same situation, everyone's on basically the same tires, same fuel. There's going to be a lot less variation in terms of the line, in terms of the strategy. What we saw, we were getting into a really good position actually, just before the pace track, where we had such big differentials in the tires. The drivers are performing differently, as we're seeing three different lines being used there by the top three as they will come together on the exit of turn 4, lap 83, coming onto the board as they work their way through turn 1 and 2. And I wonder if we're going to see the 81-37 have that big battle, but they can't really, because they don't really have the time gap in behind that they did before.
Man, they definitely don't have that big of a gap, but it is still early in this stint. Look at this. Haflidason saw Ericsson sleeping a little bit. He left the door open on the bottom. It's where Ericsson wants drivers to try and make moves on him, though, but it is early enough in a stint where I don't think the tires are screaming as much as Haflidason. If he does get the move done, Ericsson holding close on his outside, but Haflidason rides up just a bit.
Oh, this is lovely battling between the two. They've been going towards each other all race so far, and it is getting close between the two, almost door banging in towards turn 3. Ericsson might just have to slide in behind this time around. No, he's actually going to try and pin the throttle mid-corner. He gets squeezed up, though, towards the wall as Hafley tries to slow down his momentum. And the 37 gets a huge run onto the front straight. Look at the 24 coming in behind as well. He's going to try and now go into the middle of them, try and make it almost a 3-wide situation. But the 81 putting his car in a great position. It's just slowing them down, though. And look at all the cars coming in behind.
Yeah, all these three are just still running with it, but it's much closer than before. Daniel Holmer, Oscar Fredriksson, I mean, pretty much the entirety of the top 7 are running underneath a blanket. It's a larger blanket than usual, or I'd say than we have not seen in this race so far. Fumbling over my words, trying to speak in English while we're commentating a Swedish racing league.
You're doing absolutely fine. Don't you worry about that as we see the two leaders go side by side down the back straight once more. That's a huge momentum run. Might get a bit of a push from his teammate, actually, just to gain a few more inches in towards turn 3. The 37 holding that inside line, but that midline for the 81 will have a good exit onto the straight. That seems to be a good way to defend, but the 37 is holding his front bumper there, up alongside the driver's door, in towards the inside line for turn number 1, as the 81 goes a little bit more wide this time, actually. The 37 is going to come down massively far. They're completely different lines. A huge high line there for the 81. Sliding up in behind is the 24 as they're trying to find their position on the track. But this is great battles between the two. In towards turn 3, they continue. They get even closer this time around. The 81 is not letting this one up. He wants to be leading the race, but the 37 is holding it there.
I just don't understand the lack of aggression from the 24 of Alexander Arlsson, right? He's right there. He could follow one of these drivers' lines on the outside. It looks like Haflidason has a quicker car on that middle groove. Daniel Homer's got the right idea. He's trying to find that upper groove and get momentum on the outside. He's going to get a lot of momentum here.
Certainly does. In towards turn 3, though. It's actually the 24 now going to the outside. Although I say that, it swaps back to the inside. We've got two guys. We've got Uvenham and Holmer trying to find different lines. All this batting, slowing everyone down, bunching them up. And this is getting very tricky. A little bit of contact between the leaders as there's a big run for the 79 on the outside. He's going to take 3rd place momentarily to try and get around the outside of the 24. These guys not holding up at all. We're on lap 89. The 37 is now on the outside line. He's done the switchback. Huge slide there from the 81 as well. Can't get the power down on towards this back straight. Maybe a bit more contact between the two, but the 37 aggressively takes the lead, but he can't hold it as the inside line is good for the 81.
They're 3 wide for the race lead. 2 championship competitors on the inside. Almost some contact between the 81 and the 37. Eracingligan holds the lead, but right on the outside, competing, it's Daniel Homer.
He might be able to get the lead back. He lost it about, 70 laps ago now. Is this going to be the run for the Bright Esports drive on that outside? Look at the momentum you get on the outside line, and he is going to get his nose in front, but when we get towards the corner, who's going to break later? And it is the 79, but look at this, with 4 different lines going through. The 81's now got to cover off the 24 on his inside. They're squeezing each other. The 79 does take the lead in the end, but now comes on that outside line Oscar Fredriksson to 3rd place to get involved as well.
Now Alex Arnoldson goes to that upper line. Still not that 3rd groove. He entered in middle and then went down low. Again, I don't understand the lack of aggression from Arnoldson to try that upper line for about 50% of the races running so far. He could have had the spots in front of Ericsson and Haflidason, but now he's down in the P5.
What battles we're seeing at Homestead, Miami, as it gets darker and darker out in the world, but the racing is hotting up and getting ever brighter towards the end of this season. Final race, final chance to get a race win, and for Dan Homer, who went back-to-back in the mid part of the season, is now having an awesome run. The championship is not for his taking today, but this race win might just be on the cards.
Yeah, race win might certainly be on the cards for Homer, and what a way it would be for him to end this season standing in victory lane. But you can't look away from some of the drivers who we haven't talked much about in this race, but Oscar Fredriksson is holding pretty strong right now, battling with a championship competitor in Alex Arnoldson. He doesn't want to be the reason that a driver loses the chance at a championship, but he does still want to win this race. They're all still competing. Look at this train of cars all running within the top 12 in this race. It's awesome.
Oh, amazing stuff. The one driver that we need to keep an eye on, though, is that Linus Brustrom car. He's dropped down outside of the top 10, and I'm sure he's just saving a little bit, trying to do something. But in terms of the championship, all his rivals are a lot further up ahead of him. He needs to be watching out for that. As we're now on to lap 94 of 166. Bit of side-by-side between the teammates there. Fredriksson now just dropping down in towards 5th place, as Araton is still looking strong up inside the top 4, as the 81 and the 37 still are glued to each other. It doesn't matter if Homer goes around both of them. These two seem to remain side-by-side.
Yeah, they're doing an unbelievable job of giving us some entertainment in this race. I mean, it's Ericsson, Haflidason, and Arnoldson in that order. It's been that way for around 70% of the time. The other 30%, it's been Haflidason, Ericsson, Arnoldson. But nonetheless, these three are just sticking by each other, and any one of them who comes out on top would be a worthy champion from this race alone. Look at that, a dive to the inside, mid-corner. Ericsson opened up the door for Haflidason, who's going to try and get the power down on exit. Did an admirable job right there.
Yeah, just trying to make Ericsson think, make him look in his mirrors. Now he's just cut him off a bit in towards turn 1 as well, trying to hold that lower line to defend. So there's definitely some tactics going on here. I mean, it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter who's in P2 or P3 at this moment in the race, to be honest, but they're just trying to get that upper ground mentally on each other. They get very close once more. Maybe the tiniest scrape of paint is up the inside. The 81 goes onto this front straight away as the battle continues, but loses the momentum once more as lap 100 is coming up very quickly indeed. Now, by the time we get to about lap 115 or so, we will be able to get to the end, and then that's when the fuel window will open for potentially the final pit stops of the season.
Yeah, I think that's going to be quite an interesting look at who's going to want to do an undercut, who's going to want to do an overcut. Are we going to be done with wrecking in this race today? I don't know if we are, especially with how heavy this battling has been in the second half of the race. Only at this point, as we have crossed the line, 69 laps to go in the season. It's been awesome. It's been a fun race, and I think few people would agree with me that this track should be the championship finale in NASCAR racing in the real world, but I don't make that decision.
Yes, it's a good one, and it is producing a really good race so far. The different lines is what has really been quite interesting, and just everyone's been able to stay pretty close as well. The so the dirty air, the aero wash hasn't seemingly been too bad. You can stay really close to drivers and actually have some battles lap after lap, as we've seen between these two cars on the screen. The 37, the 81, going for that championship, as up wide. We're getting one of the other drivers involved there. That's the 42 of Anton Uhrmann, who we saw pitting. He's a few laps down, 3 laps down, as he lets his teammates through. We've also got Helmbrand 4s in the pit lane. We've got Ericsson, he's 11 laps down. And then, of course, Skoglund and Holmbaum, the DNFs from this race so far. Lap 99 turns into lap 100 as the 79 leads the way, but the 81 wants to finish this lap 100 in that second place.
Now, another thing you have to think about is when you're running for second and third, the car in front. All right.
Huge slide for the 79 off 2. That is going to give the race lead to the 81. Can the 79 actually get in between them? That's going to be very awkward for Jesper Eriksson. He comes up a little bit wide. This gives a couple of car lengths to Havlicen as he comes out onto the front stretch. And that was certainly a moment for Holmer, who's going to lose a third place as Aronson is going to dive him down in towards turn 1.
Holmer made a meal out of that lap. He actually hit the apron in 3 and 4, shot up in front of Arnoldson. That gave Arnoldson the momentum to get by him now in turn 2. That's a -3 in 1 lap for Daniel Holmer, and it was his own mistakes, unfortunately.
And he did that before, didn't he, when he was leading the race until about lap 20. Then these 3 swooped past him in a lap that time around as well. So it seems like when the floodgates open, they really do. And is he going to be able to dive back on the inside turn 1, actually? But maybe not, because it seems like he's very fast in the opening parts of the stint, maybe sort of pushing a little bit too much and wearing the tyres, because that is it's the second stint in a row where we've seen that trend continue.
Did we just see a car hit the wall? Here's a replay of what happened to Daniel Holmer here. He got on the acceleration pretty early through the exit of the corner. You saw the revs pick up, and you saw him have to kind of dirt track that thing back to going straight down the backstretch. And then 3 and 4, he took his left sides onto the apron. But, you know, Cam, if it wasn't oval racing, I would ask where the rain's coming in this radar, because it is dark and cloudy.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess the drivers will be loving that for going longer in this stint. But how long do you want to risk it? Because if you stay out and then you lose 5 seconds being undercut, then you've got to make that up in the final stint and then do an overtake to win the championship. So is it more safe to then pit a bit early as all up against the wall, the 37 goes? Is it safer to get that track position early, but then you're going to be having to defend for the championship? It's a tough call how they want to go about this. 62 laps remaining. A little bit too early for a stop, but it will start to be in the minds of the drivers how long they want to go.
Well, it depends where you're running on track and who you're racing against. For Havlicen or Ericsson, I feel like whoever does the undercut, and if they work it where their in-lap and their out-lap are fast as can be, even if it's 1 lap difference, I think the undercut is absolutely going to come out with the lead of this race, even if they're running close together. Lap times have fallen to around 6/10 slower off their best times, which is less fall off than we saw earlier in this race, and that's because the track conditions have definitely come down in temperature. You saw 85 degrees is the track. That is not hot at all. These tires are up to temp for sure at this point in the run, but they're also not melting off onto the track as much as they may have been earlier in this race. So they can go longer. The question is, how much longer do they want to go? And the fuel is only going to last them around 52 or so laps.
What has happened to Eric Blix? Is we got still Helmbrand 4s in the pit lane. Eric Blix is gone, but I can't see if it's because he's in the pit lane or not, but he's dropped down the way. The 95, of course, winning the first race of the season, actually, back in Daytona, but has dropped out through the playoff situation. He's dropping down the way, but Havlicen and Ericsson still continue their battle out towards the front. 60 laps to go in this race, as they are batting very nice indeed. Here is the graph of where they where they've stood in the race. You can see Haflissen went longer in that first stint, but it was then neutralized by the caution, and we've been racing now for obviously quite a while, over 30 laps of action, so 40 laps actually even. We're getting towards as the tyres will be starting to drop off a little bit, and I'll be thinking of that final pit stop.
Yeah, it didn't really change too much in terms of the strategies for Haflissen, Ericsson, and Arnoldson. Who it did change it for was Salo and Linus Broström. Especially Broström was hoping that this race would go green the rest of the way to give him a chance on strategy to potentially steal this championship from Haflissen, Ericsson, and Arnoldson. They would have hoped to go on one fewer stops and hope that the time out saved by being out on track while everyone else was in the pits one extra time would have ended up with him in the championship favorite position, but hasn't worked out that way. He's going to have to really hope for an incident for Haflissen, Ericsson, or Arnoldson, or a caution with some favorable timing that helps Broström get back into this championship battle. But what we're seeing from the 5 competitors in this final 5, it's pretty much been the same all day, except I will say Arnoldson has dropped off considerably based of where he's been running most of the time. Haflissen and Ericsson, you could barely separate these two.
Yeah, the laps are so close though. I mean, there's less than a tenth of a second between the top 3, even top 4. Add Holmer into that one as well. But it's just every now and again, these top 2 are slightly faster and they pull away just 10th or 100th of a second at a time, I should say. Such fine are the margins in this championship and in this style of racing, as we're still seeing some different lines coming between the pair. We have 55 laps to go, and that is the stint length that we saw earlier from Haflissen. I would say this time around, it doesn't make sense to pit this early and save to the end, especially if you want to have fuel for some green-white checkers. But I would say the fuel and the pit window is open for anyone who wants to try and get that undercut to get to the end. It's an extreme case, but someone might try it.
Yeah, someone very well may try that. At the end of this lap, I should say at the end of the coming lap, you could theoretically make it to the end of this race on one more stop. I'd say starting now, because 56 laps is what we saw Linus Broström attempt to do. Now there's 55 laps to go here, so I'd say the pit window is open, maybe not firmly open, but it has definitely cracked its way open, where if you pit now, you could make it to the end of this race.
Big decision on the cards for these top 2. How long do they want to go? Do they want to risk being undercut? Do they want to keep their battle going? Are they just going to be focusing too much on each other? The 37, big slide out of 4 as he's clearly pushing. So is the 81. Remember, Haflissen, he's won 2 out of the 4 playoff races so far. This is, of course, the final one, and this is the important one to win. But Haflissen is on form in this championship. Ericsson has struggled over the last 4 races. He's been able to get to this position purely by all of the bonus points that he got in the regular season. He carried them through over the course of him struggling in the previous few races. And now it's the time. Oh, no! Huge slide, though, for the 81. He saves it, and he could just about save his championship hopes, but that puts the 37 back in the lead.
Oh my goodness, that may have very well saved his championship hopes because he was 45 degrees sideways and heading down towards the pit wall. That was unbelievable. What a save from Michael Haflissen, and he only keeps himself a half second back of Jesper Ericsson, still alive.
Oh, that was massive from the 81. And he's going to continue on, but he's got a little bit of a wiggle that time around as well. Let's see this once more. I would have loved to see what his Zoom call reaction was. So he comes up a little bit high. He's already sliding a little bit. He's trying to get on the power because Ericsson's coming out the inside. Look at that. His hands were completely upside down. Full 180 degree lock on that wheel. Solo comes in. Solo is in the pit lane. Broström as well. He is in pit road. So they've decided that this is the time for them to come down. And they're going to get the undercut. They're going to go longer, try and get some track position back.
It's not necessarily a bad idea, but then I look at Linus Broström and I ask myself, is the last play that he has in his cards to stay out as long as possible since the caution came out? Oh, man.
This is getting tough now for the 81. And he might be forced his hand to pit a little bit earlier than he would have wanted in this situation. We'll find out, because it's not worth binning it. For the sake of going a couple laps longer, I would say. He still looks fairly calm though, actually, on the screen. I guess he is a bit more of a calm driver as Ericsson comes in. So he is there. He is ready for his final stop of the season as they work their way down pit road. Top two stay out.
This is definitely the move that Arnoldson could get. It could get Arnoldson, I'd say, right back into this top two battle, but he's going to have to show a bit more aggression on fresh tires. As you see some smoke slowing down into the pits. Couldn't quite see who that was coming down to the pits, but almost hit that wall, that barrier, the attenuator heading down into pit road. That could have brought out a caution and changed it up completely once again. But I'll tell you what, Haflidason, I feel like he's got to go at least 2 laps of an undercut here to give himself a good shot of getting back into this battle with Jesper Eriksson. Of course, if Haflidason came down right now, Eriksson could answer him right away. But look at that. Oh, Haflidason almost lost it again as Eriksson went down pit road.
This is crunch time for the championship. The final green flag pit stop of the season is coming their way. Haflidason has beyond zero grip, but he's stayed out. Is he going to cover it off? Or is he going to try and go even further and have some fresher tyres to therefore have the opportunity to try and overtake? It's what won him the race last time out at Dover. Is he going to do it again, or is he just going to cover it off? It looks like he's going wide. Yes, he is going to go for those fresher tyres, and this was actually quite good because they were pushing. They were getting that gap, so they have some time gap to eat up from the undercut for the drivers behind. So if they're lucky, they might still come out in P1 and 2 once it's all worked out. But here is Arnoldson in the 24. He pit early. Is he going to be able to get Jesper Eriksson, or was he just too far behind onto the back straight? He's going to have the run, have the momentum, but I think he's too far behind.
He is too far behind, but it's not like the battle is completely over. Arnoldson's tires are up to temp right now. He's going to have to get by some other traffic and keep it moving. Haflidason's going to hope that a caution comes out just before Jesper Eriksson gets around him and Alexander Arnoldson, because once they get around, if a caution came out, then Haflidason would be out of luck, would have to go into the pits. Still, he cannot control that car whatsoever. I feel like this is the second time in this race. He kind of got a mulligan the first time when the caution came out. The second time, though, making this choice again to stay out as long as possible, it makes beyond zero sense to me.
It depends where he comes out. It depends how far behind Eriksson he is, because he was going to be undercut, so he's going to be second anyway. So he might as well stay out, try and have a bit fresher tyres, but he can't stay out too long that he then goes behind Arnoldson as well, because then you have 2 Forza Esports teammates
at this point
to overtake for the championship. So interesting. Or is he just trying to stay out for some sort of caution to help him? We'll have to find out, but he is staying out. We've also got Holmer, Gunnarsson, Fredriksson, Hogman, loads of drivers still out there trying to make this strategy work, but look at the slide there from the 81 as he's really starting to lose time now.
I mean, he's been losing time for a while at this point. Drop off, so 2nd and 2/10 now. And if that's his drop off, then drivers like Eriksson and Arnoldson are certainly closing in with ferocity at the moment. We see Haflidason has that competition right in behind. There's Eric Blixt in the 95 behind Blixt. It's a 42 of Anton Oman. Now Haflidason goes down into pit road. Eriksson and Arnoldson fly by, get back onto the lead lap. Haflidason's going to need to get 4 tires fuel to make it to the end of this race. He's going to have a lot of ground he has to make up.
Yeah, he really does. He's going to have the fresher tires, though. Is the differential of the tires going to be enough? It's going to be 5 laps on Eriksson, 6 on Arnoldson, I believe. So he's going to have a bit of a step in grip. is it enough? The 37 is going to lead the way once this all works itself out. And he's going to be holding on. The 37 of Jesper Eriksson, remember, he's dominated this championship. He's won the Formula 4 season as well before Christmas. He's been the man for the Forza Esports by Morby. But can he get this championship? It's looking good for him as it stands, though, because Eriksson sat behind him all day. So maybe that is a taste of what's going to come in his final stint.
Yeah, Arlsson has not shown the aggression. I keep using that word, but truly, he's been the third best driver all day, even though he's been sitting alongside Haflidason and Jesper Eriksson. A very assertive move there for Eriksson to get by some additional traffic. Michael Haflidason, look how far he is behind. I mean, Linus Broström's in front of him now.
Do we have the top 5, though? So the top 5, the playoff 5, are the 5 drivers who will be leading this way. Once the pit stops have worked out. They're covered by about 6 seconds, and now it is a free-for-all. Every driver for themselves, for the championship, 40 laps to go at the line, and a slight differential on the tyres. I believe the amount of time that we have left, Haflidason should be able to catch up, at least to Dan Solo. The extra 3 seconds up towards Eriksson, we'll have to find out how Eriksson is managing the tyres, but it's going to be a sticky situation for these drivers.
My question is, Haflidason with a 5.5 second difference from he to Jesper Eriksson. How easy is it going to be? As you see, Arlsson came up to clear some more traffic. That was integral. It was vital for his championship hopes here with 40 laps to go. I mean, he's holding strong against Jesper Eriksson. We take a look at when all these drivers pitted. Haflidason, yes, he's got 10-lap fresher tires than Broström and 9-lap fresher tires than Salo. We've seen the speed that Haflidason has on even tires with those two. He should be able to get by, but with Eriksson only 5-lap older tires, I don't know how much of a difference that's really going to be. Haflidason got by Broström just as we were speaking.
This is exactly the championship race that we wanted. Got Eriksson, Arlsson, Broström, of course, Solo, and then Haflidason all going for the championship as the 95 there gets out of the way for the leaders. That's nice, not getting too involved in that championship. And with a couple of drip pitters to go of Salander and Gunnarsson, they'll be dropping out of the way and putting Eriksson back into the lead on the track, on the road, with 37 laps to go at the line. And he is leading the way very nicely indeed. Just coming through. Actually, no, you can't even quite see him in the camera yet. That's how far behind Haflidason and Broström are. It's going to be 5 seconds. Is that going to be enough? Let's look at the previous lap times. It was a 10th and a half last lap. A 10th and a half times 38 is going to be very tight. He's going to need a bit more than that.
Going to need a little bit more than that, and it's a completely different thing when you're catching a driver and then trying to pass a driver, right? You can use the width of your car and the lines that you're running to hold drivers in behind, and on top of that, as these tires continue to wear, that 10th and a half might either get bigger or smaller, that gap, as this run continues on. And of course, we could have a caution thrown into the mix as well.
Oh, don't you mention that. But if we get a caution at a point where drivers have stayed to the end, Haflidason's fresher tyres would help him because everyone would be bunched back up. So that is also another benefit of going back out. But then maybe everyone, as you say, maybe everyone goes into pit lane at that point. So tough one. But he's tried something. He's tried to make it work. Is it going to be the right decision though? 36 laps still remain as Eriksson needs to hold on to this. I'm still thinking that Arlsson isn't going to be going for this. So he has a backup gunner, does Eriksson. He just needs to not make a mistake and keep those rear tires in check.
I just haven't understood all race long that Arlsson has had good positioning to make a move, but just has not gone for it. I know they're teammates, Jesper Eriksson and Alexander Arlsson at this moment, but genuinely go for the move. You're racing for a championship.
You certainly are. And it is an interesting one, but to say the truth, on paper, the 37, statistically had a better season than the 24. As we see Solo and Haflidason, they swap positions. Is that going to be completed? Yes, it is. So now the 13 is going to be pushing his teammate up towards the top 2. 4 seconds is the gap and 35 laps remaining. He might, I'll tell you what, he might just have enough time to at least get an opportunity.
That was a big move, and there's not really any traffic. There's no cars in between Haflidason and Arlton as far as I can see right now. So if he continues to have some clean air to move through, to catch up to the top 2 in this race and in the championship, that could bode very well. I have been wrong multiple times before, so it would be cool if Haflidason can prove me wrong once again. And Ericsson's trying to move through this traffic right now, so that's another thing to look out for as he gets by the 78 and puts Jonas Fors another lap down, already 21 laps down for him in that 78 machine. Had some nice words from Jonas earlier before we started this broadcast, and hopefully we're talking some Svenska Eracingligan racing action again next season.
Yeah, we certainly are looking forward to it, because this championship charge is so amazing that you can have 9 months of action and it comes down to 3.5 seconds between Ericsson and Haflidason. Haflidason has had such a difficult championship. He's been up, he's been down, he's won races, he's had crashes, he's had almost a crash today, almost binned it on the exit of 4, and that could have been his championship over, but he still has the light at the end of the tunnel that he is chasing, and that is the 37, the black and red Bohlin's entry there, as that is the car of Jesper Eriksson, the 37, coming down towards turn 1, leading the way, and is now down to 3.2 seconds. So 10th by 10th, he's closing in.
Yeah, he is closing in, and it's a pretty fast rate as well. It is helped by this traffic that Ericsson and Arlton have had to face off against. You see Haflidason there, just pulling down on the inside, trying to get by through more traffic as we're coming to 30 laps to go in this race. There is certainly still time for crazier things to happen, but in the last 6 or so laps, that gap has come down a second. So, hey, maybe Haflidason has got a little bit left in the tank here.
And it's crazy to see what just those 5 laps of difference makes. He's already gained 2 seconds. And if he can do that again in the same amount of laps, then he is going to have somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 laps to get that final overtake on Arlton, and then have the shot at the championship. He's coming, he's in the background there, trying to close down. So we dropped Solo and Broström. So we've kind of seen that all day. They just haven't quite have the pace, and it really is a 3-way battle for this championship. Looks like 37 has the 24 covered, and that is why we believe it's just the 81 and the 37 going at it inside these final few laps of the race.
It is pretty wild, though, that after all of the strategy, the top 5 in the championship are running top 5 in this race right now. Yes, Broström, and to a lesser extent, Danny Salo look to be out of the running at this moment. But Haflidason, he is certainly putting in some barn burner lap times right here. The question is he using more of the tire than he will have when he's trying to make a move on Jesper Eriksson? Is Eriksson holding up just a little bit, getting ready for the battle that he knows is coming?
Yeah, that's true. At the moment, Jesper can be at that 99% where he's just leaving that little bit on the table not to slide, whereas Haflidason, he has to push that 101%, going just slightly over the limit. And look how dark it is outside as well, with the clouds, the floodlights starting to come into it. And it's certainly not putting a cloud on the championship battle as it's getting closer and closer. It's now just 1 second between Haflidason and Arlton, and then another second to the leader. He's definitely got enough time to do this, but is he burning up his tires too much, chasing them down?
He very well may be doing exactly that, but there's no time to figure that out right now. You've got to get up to the top 2 at this point and then figure it out from there. And if you have to get the elbows out just a bit, get the elbows out.
Yeah, that's very true. When you say he doesn't have time to think about it, yeah, he just needs to catch up and then sort it out later with the tyres. He's got a Bjorn Broström, I think that is. Yes, it is up the inside. He's going to have to go off him, off the 41. So now it is a straight shot up towards the 24 He's there and he's coming, and it's going to be 25 laps to go to get this championship.
He is putting in some unbelievable lap times right now, but I don't know. I don't know how long it will last for. Haflidasen's last lap was around half a tenth quicker than Jesper Ericsson, and the fastest lap of the race was set during this stint, by the way. It was 2/10 quicker than Ericsson's fastest lap in the race. So he's right on now. Alexander Arnoldson. How much? Look at that. Haflidasen getting loose. That's the other thing. Haflidasen has made a lot of mistakes in this race so far. He almost lost it at that same corner around 25 laps ago.
And it's not quite the point of being desperate. It would be if there was like 5 laps to go. He does have 24 instead. But this is a big move. How early he gets to 24 leaves him obviously more laps to get Ericsson. If the 24 holds him up for some laps, this is going to negate the advantage. Around the outside is going to be for the 81 though. He's going to have the high line. He's going to get a bit of a switch back to try and use that momentum down towards the first corner. Is this going to be the move for second place? The 24 leaves the door open on that inside line. The 81 goes down. Does he have enough tire grip to then push up on the 24 and hold back that momentum at the outside line? Has, but not quite enough. He's going to have to work hard for it down towards turn number 3. The 81 is going to dive it once more. The 24 goes right to the high line. The 81 needs to cover off and come up high to try and hold on to that second place, but I think he's got it done. And now he's chasing down Ericsson in the 37 for the championship.
Yeah, but look how much time that Haflidasen lost there in that pursuit of getting by Alexander Arnoldson. It went down to 2 seconds, the gap. 2 seconds, 22 laps to go with 5-lap fresher tires. I feel like he certainly can get it. The question is, will he be able to make the move once he gets to Jesper Ericsson, if he does?
It's getting tight for this championship. The 37 is wiggling about a little bit. They are pushing each other. And look at that, just a dozen or 2 dozen car lengths in between them as they come down that front stretch. 37 has led the way, as he has done for most of the season. I'm sure if there's a stat for his average position, like per lap, it's probably P1, or at least close to it, because he's had some very strong and dominant performances over the season. And now it's just 2 seconds. That's all it is, 2 seconds the gap behind. If you can hold on to that, it's a 10th a lap that needs to avoid losing.
Yeah, but have you recognized something from the gap over the last couple laps? Ericsson has certainly started to turn up the wick just a bit more as he saw the last car in between he and Haflidasen disappear off in the distance, that being Alexander Arnoldson. Haflidasen just lost 2/10 on those 2 corners alone, so now he's pushing it, and Ericsson is doing the exact same thing. It's exactly what I thought he might have been doing as Arnoldson gets loose and wiggles around right there. I really think that Ericsson was just, he wasn't pushing it and he was waiting until he had to.
I totally agree, as that gap went up last lap for the first time, pretty much for the whole stint. So it's a big task. Hafley slide in the rear end as well. This might be an important turning factor in this championship, as he's had to chase down. He chose to have the fresher tyres at the end. He's already caught up 3 seconds. He's made the overtakes that he needs to on Broström, Solo and Arnoldson. But this last one might be a stretch too far.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was concerned about for Haflidasen. Once he did bury himself into that strategy call, it's not necessarily competing against Arnoldson or Salo or Broström. It's competing against Jesper Ericsson, who has been in P1 for most of this race. Oh man, Linus Broström, by the way, you see him in a battle in the leaderboard with Jonas Gunnarsson. Broström has dropped a couple positions. Right now, it's the top 4 all in the championship battle with Broström in 7th. So really good showing from all of the drivers trying to win this Season 6 championship.
And what a battle it has been between these drivers. I mean, even now it's kind of stabilized. Oh, a spin there. is there some smoke? Is that going to bring out a caution? Do we stay? I think we stay under green, but that just shows you how quickly this could change around, and then we could get some green.
Oh,
there is a caution. The 81 goes up. He saved it out of the wall, but someone has gone around. Caution comes out, and we're going to have a sprint to the end.
Oh my goodness! You said smoke, and then there was more smoke, and that's how quickly things can change. Wow. We're going to have a quick dash to the end. Everyone's going to come down for tires and fuel. I think Broström might go with a 2-tire call here. We saw him do it earlier, not lose too much time early in the running. Oh, man. This was Ericsson's to win, and now it's all gone up in smoke. It's all wide open.
This is amazing stuff. Some say you can't write it, but some say it does actually happen quite often as well, because these two, they're just having their fight for the championship, and then someone completely uninvolved has a spin, brings out the caution, and as you say, everyone has to be down pit road. Has to be, because if you stay out on those older tyres, you're going to get swamped up. So the top 3 come through. Dan Solo in behind also comes through. Everyone who stayed out, of course, was laps down. And yeah, as you would expect, at that point, if the front 5 or 6 come in, everyone in behind might as well come in and have the fresher tyres to the end. What is going to be the run off pit road, though? Is anyone going to mess up, have a slow stop? Is anyone going to go 2 tyres? That is now going to be the choice that they have to make.
We'll see. All of them have gotten propped up on both sides so far. Linus Broström, he's one to look out for, but it doesn't matter. Ericsson's going to come out
2?
with the lead of this race.
Did he only take 2?
No, Ericsson just had an incredibly fast stop. That was awesome. 13 seconds in the box. Haflidason and everyone else was at least 14.1 seconds.
Interesting. So yeah, Ericsson slightly fast stop helped him keep the lead from Haflidason and Aronson, and of course Solo in that 4th place. Here is how this happened on the replay coming through. So this actually on board with Haflidason, so he's already sliding around a lot. Look at that, all the way through turn 2. Wow, massive slide there, and he was going to have to do that for another 17 laps to go in this race, don't you remember? And then coming through in towards turn 4, slow car inside, right in front of him. Wow. So he's had 2 big moments in this race where he's been able to keep his car going and keep his championship hopes alive.
So I couldn't quite see who that was, but the smoke was from him, that driver who eventually brought out the caution. And if you're Jesper Eriksson, you are furious because that driver was down on the apron and lost it again.
Yeah, and that's, as you say, that's what actually eventually brought out the caution, but that could have been a huge moment, because if Haflidason couldn't avoid that, went up into the wall, then you never know. Oh, it is Anton Orman, and teammate of Haflidason. He's obviously gone a bit wide there, then he's lost the rear end, and he's going to loop it coming down. No, he's not. He's going to save it. No, he is going to loop it. They're coming down the back stretch there, and actually saved it quite nicely. He's going to go onto the apron here, and then I assume he's just going to run up onto it, touch it, and then, yeah, as you say, car spins around, and that was a big moment for the championship.
That's interesting.
Where's Mr. Briatore when you need him? I take that obviously as a big joke. Let's see how this one is going to work out. We still have lapped cars behind the pace truck, so there they go. They're going to be let through, and there's quite a lot of lap cars actually involved in that one. Of course stayed out, and now we'll go to the back of the pack. So it's the 37, the 81. Dylan, give me your prediction. We're going to have 12 laps at the line, fresh tyres for everyone. Who's going to win?
I mean, I think Ericsson and Haflidason are going to wreck each other out. We've seen them leaning on each other so much in this race, and now they have to go full flat out here. You want to be in the catbird seat running third with these two drivers absolutely giving it their all now. It doesn't matter, right? They're going to go back to green flag racing with 12 laps to go. Anyone still has an opportunity to win this championship now.
So if you're Aronson, 24, you've sat behind in third place all day, is third place actually going to be the one you want to be in, as you're mentioning, if these two come together? The 81 and 37, they've already rubbed doors a couple of times this race. The pace truck is going to pull to the left-hand side, and under the floodlights, we are going to go back racing. The AMRT Grand Final is going to get back underway for a sprint to the finish with Jesper Eriksson in the 37 leading us down towards turn 1. The start was actually for the 24. He was able to get past follow through with his teammate in towards second place, as all the cars have been able to get through turn 2 for the first time of asking. So Haflidsson now does have an extra person to overtake, but now it's every man for themselves surely, and the 24 might be going for the race lead. Now he's backed out of that one as we come through, rubbing up against the wall from some of these drivers with 11 laps remaining in the championship.
Look at Linus Broström. He's moved himself into 5th, the top 5, all the final 5 in this fight for the championship. Arnoldson on the outside here with Michael Haflidsson going down the inside line. It's just letting Eriksson pull away just ever so slightly.
This is getting tense because Arnoldson is obviously trying to hold on and potentially help his teammate. Solo actually is going to be able to follow him through. It's going to be an Alcantech 2 and 3 coming towards the end. I thought 4s were on top potentially strategically in this race, but actually in the end it might be Alcantech. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two. The 13 runs up wide into the 24, but for the lead actually, Haflidsson is looking close as he gets so close to the wall on the exit of turn number 2. Other drivers brushing up there. And it looks like it is going to be a 1-2 between these guys. They've been battling all race. The 81 to the inside line. He's trying to get this at the first time of asking. Fresh tyres. They'll have the grip. They run wide up towards each other. Don't make contact, boys, as they go for the race lead.
I mean, they basically came as close as you can without hitting the wall or hitting each other. Down the inside, they're very close again. Eriksson trying to squeeze him, but Haflidsson right on his doorstep.
This is so close, and of course they are losing some time as the 13 is going to get close. Broström has now got up inside that 4th place, as is now Arnoldson, who's going for the lead on the restart, has now dropped down into P5 and might drop outside of that with Holmer, your pole position driver, coming up the inside. Is all to go with 8 laps remaining in this AMRT Grand Final, and what a finish we're having.
What an absolutely beautiful way to end this season. Once again, Eriksson will just let the car roll into the corner slower than Haflidsson, but he gets a better exit. Haflidsson right up against the wall. Momentum favors Eriksson.
This is epic stuff here. Homestead, Miami, the 81 seems to have the motivation to get past, but will he have the racecraft and the opportunities? Going wide to try and get on the power a little bit earlier. The 37 rubbing up towards the wall once more. 7 laps remaining in this race. The floodlights are coming on here at Homestead. Contact between the two. The 81's much braver on the brakes. Every braking zone, we're seeing that in 1 and 3. And he's got to be careful not to push him out, because remember, there could be position penalties after the race. So if you wreck and win the race, you still might not win the championship. To the inside, the 81 goes though, and they rub doors coming through 3 and 4. This could be the championship move. The 37 is going to be pushed up wide towards the wall. He scrapes the wall, but the 81 is going to have the inside line down towards turn 1. 6 laps remaining, and Eriksson is going to have to squeeze him to the inside. Further contact between the pair.
Yeah, these two are not giving each other any inch to work with, and look at that. They still make contact, and they're almost wrecking. They come down. They save it down the backstretch. Denny Salo with the run down it.
Yeah, 37 needs to be careful that the 13 is not going to get involved. We're going to be 3 wide pretty much coming through turn 3. The 81's on the inside line. Still hasn't completed this move. 2 laps into trying to make it. Further little nudges between the two. Rubbing up against the wall furthermore. 5 laps to go. And they're starting to squeeze each other. Is a wreck coming, or can they keep it clean? The 81 dives to the inside of turn 1 for another time of asking. Broström is actually looking pretty strong in the background as well. Can he be an outside shot after dropping down the order earlier?
And Arnoldson has given himself another opportunity to get back involved in this battle. Salo goes down the inside with Haflidsson. Broström runs right up against the wall. All of them have a shot here with 4 to go.
This is insane battling between them. We're coming up towards 6 miles remaining in this championship, and Haflidasson's finally got up the inside and he's completed that move. His teammate, the 13, is coming through, probably the outside contender for this championship, but he's going to be up into second place. Ericsson's going to go wide, and he's swamped here as well because Broström is going to get past, and the 24 is going to bump him as well. 3 laps remaining at the line, and Ericsson down into 5th.
That could be championship over for Jesper Eriksson. He's on the outside of teammate Alexander Aroldsson, running down into almost P5. 3 laps to go. Haflidason controls.
Now 37's getting aggressive. Up the inside he goes. So Aroldson's up wide in P5 now. And then there's Broström on the outside in P4. The 37's going to try and get the run to get back up towards P2. But the 13 now is a teammate of Haflidason. And he might be putting his car in the perfect place to try and secure Alcantech a championship here. He comes to the inside line to block off the 71, who's going for a late charge for this championship on the outside line as well. There's a potentially bit of contact between the teammates as Ericsson has a wiggle and the 24 gets past him.
At this point, if Haflidason does not win, it's because of a caution coming out or a mistake coming off the corner, because Ericsson is almost completely out of this championship fight now.
Certainly is. He dominated the regular season. He struggled in the playoffs, and the winner at this track last season is going to be leading as we come across the stripe for one final time. Just 1.5 miles remain in this championship. The AMRT Grand Final has the white flag out.
One more time around this track in Homestead, Florida, just around 50 minutes south of Miami. Michael Haflidason, it looked like all was lost, but he's only 3 corners away from winning the title.
And he's just got 2 more corners to go. Who's going to finish second place? Actually, it looks like the 13 might just be able to hold off from the 71, but it's the 81 for Alcantech, who has won 2 races so far in the playoffs. If he can keep it through the final corner, not only is he going to win 3, but he's going to take the championship in dominant fashion. The 81 is your 23-24 Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Series champion, and he certainly deserved that. He had to risk it with the tyre strategy at the end. He chased down the 37, and on that final restart, after an impressive battle with the 37, was able to overtake him and take victory.
Yeah, Haflidason was one of the 2 fastest drivers all day. He is the champion, and it looked like it was all lost until a caution from Anton Ullman. His teammate actually bunched them all up together, and he had to compete with 12 laps to go big time with Jesper Eriksson. Got the elbows out. Both of them did. Haflidason took advantage of being on the inside and never looked back. He is your champion.
Certainly well deserved. He struggled in the regular season, but he kept himself up there in the championship points standings. So when we got to the playoffs, he knew that was his time to pounce. He won the first race of the playoffs, the round of 15 at Chicagoland. Then had some strong performances and taking a second win at Dover last time out. So he won 3 of the final 5 races. And of course, winning the important one, the final race, the playoff championship race, as the 81 there for Alcantech bring home the championship. Dan Solo in second place after winning the previous race before that at Michigan as well. So Alcantech very happy with that double finish there in P1 and 2. Hafley then winning the championship and the race with Solo in behind him. Linus Broström getting 3rd place in the end. Aroldsson in 4th. And Jesper Eriksson, after winning the regular season, wasn't able to take home the championship. Your top 5, all the final 5 playoff drivers remaining. Dan Holmer from pole position will round out in your top 6. And Jonas Gunnarsson will give up his crown to his teammate. I'm sure he won't be too disappointed with that as he gets P7 to end the season. Tony Uvenen, your independent driver in the 84, will finish a strong 8th place. Horgman in 9th. And Robert Erling rounds out another Force driver in their final race before they disband, and that set of drivers go to some new teams for the new season. Broström will finish in P11, Salander in P12, a little bit quiet race today, the final driver on the lead lap, and then the drivers a lap down is Lundberg and Fredriksson, and then the drivers a few laps down, we got Tyr, Johansson, Schott, Blixt, Ullman, and Robert Eriksson, your top 20, and then just a final few drivers remaining, which is Jonas Fors, Helmbro, Skoglund, and Holmbaum, who of course were involved in that first wreck quite a while ago, almost 100 laps ago. And Dan Solo getting the final fastest lap of the season with a 32.4 on lap 159 as they were going for the championship at the end. We have the drivers now, of course, joining us in towards the commentary booth as well. And we will have to first bring in the champion of the 23-24 Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, Michael Havlidsson. You are champion. How does that feel?
I am about to cry. I think it's been a really tough season, and to come on this strong late in the season has been really important. And I mean, I've been pushing myself for the last 3-4 weeks. I think I did like 20 officials in Kansas just to get time in the car, and I've just done so much practicing, and it's nice that it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like you were very strong there in this race, and in all situations, really, you seem to have just that slight potential pace advantage on Jesper. Do you think if it went green to the end that you'd been able to get him and hold on, or do you think you just had enough in that final stint?
I don't know. If we wouldn't have had the yellow, I think it would have been harder, but I think that I still had a lot of fresher tires. I think that I still could have gotten him. I saw you starting to push and like hold my pace, but I knew I had a few fresher tires, or a few laps fresher tires. So, and by the looks of it, I was catching them quite a lot. So I think I still would have won, but obviously it was nice with the reset, being able to be side by side with him and obviously fight for it fair and square. Like, yeah, just same tires, same everything. It's just, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's a big moment. And just wanted to ask about that final move at the end with Jesper, your fierce rival this season, and there was one or two little bits of contact. How much were you risking there? Because it looked like you were both going for absolutely everything. I said to everyone in the team before the restart, I'm going balls to the walls. I am not backing out of anything. I'm destroying my tires, destroying my car, or win. That's the only options I had, and yeah, it paid off. Yes, absolutely. And we're just seeing a nice replay now. Big contact between you two there. I mean, actually, talking of that, about halfway through the race, you had a huge slide. I think it was coming off turn 4. Just A, how did you keep that? And B, how did you then calm down the heart rate afterwards?
I don't think the heart rate went under 130 after that spin, not even under the yellows. But I have been driving the car a lot, and at Kansas, you kind of got those moments where it would all of a sudden snap over on you. So doing a lot of races there definitely helped me. Me and Daniel were doing like I said, 20-ish race that week. So definitely helped a lot. Just feel safe when the car was drifting, not feel scared. Like, oh shit, the car is drifting. Like you said, oh, the car is drifting. Okay, I know what to do. And I think that's why I was able to hold it. I just think I flat-footed it, to be honest, as well. I don't even think I lifted.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. And my final question to you is, just how well did this Alcantech team work together? You started the season strong with Eric getting the win there, and of course between the team, pretty much all of you managed to get a victory in the end. You're certainly very strong. You must have had a great season together.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I joined with Alcantech, it's been a real, so to say, upbringing for me. I mean, they are really good at what they do in the oval, and I've learned almost everything I have learned from them. So I have a lot to thank for like everything to those guys, especially like Daniel, Gunnarsson, Blixt, everyone, Selander as well, and obviously Öhman. I mean, I can't thank them enough, and the team owners as well, and the sponsors. It's just mega thanks to all of the guys in Alcantech, and I mean, one championship, drivers and teams, and I think Almitech got third in the teams as well. So I mean, we're showing that we're really strong, and only being 6 cars compared to like Force and Bright and whatnot. It's really nice showing that we are up there and we are beating them.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great season for you. So enjoy the celebrations this evening, and congratulations on your championship.
Thank you so much.
And good stuff there from the 81 of Michael Haflidsson, your series champion for 23-24. And we'll bring in his teammate, Dan Solo, the 13 machine, who had a little bit of a quiet afternoon, Daniel. It wasn't looking like it was going your way, but that final restart, you made some big moves and ended up in second place. So just tell us, initially in the sort of the middle part of the race, were you just struggling a little bit with the car?
Yeah, I realized quite early on in the race that I didn't have quite the pace to challenge. So I basically just realized that I'm gonna have to try for a 2-stop to even be able to do anything here if it goes green. So, and then I was like 2 laps short on the first stint, so I had to really save the second stint. Would have been funny to see that fuel mileage play out, because I think I would have been able to do it, and then me and Linus would have had the battle there, I guess. But yeah, that last stint was defending like a lion all the way, basically, because I couldn't get I tried to get a run on them both, but I just couldn't. I don't know how they can battle that hard and still stay in front. Yeah, it's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. When we did get that caution at the end, were you thinking about the championship then? Did you think you would be able to overtake the sort of 4 cars that you had in front of you at the time, or was it trying to help Michael, or was it, how was the situation there?
I mean, the goal is to win, of course. But I just didn't feel like I had the proper chance, and then I got too much heat from behind. So it's either like I go drop back a couple of positions, let them catch Huffley, and then maybe get a win. But at that point, I feel like I'm better off playing it safe, kind of, and making sure we at least get the Drivers' Championship. Of course, I wanted it over Huffley, but can't have everything, I guess. I mean, we secured the team championship, so at least I'm a champion in some form. So I guess that's 1-1 for us.
Absolutely. And looking towards the future, do you think there's anything that you can do to try and win the championship next time? Or is it all about a little bit of luck, maybe a little bit of a speed just at Homestead at the end? Is it just all about that?
Getting better. just a skill issue, I guess. Just being there in the end is really what matters. But I mean, a Gen 4 car maybe would make quite a difference. Just saying. Wink, wink. I don't know. I didn't feel like I just have the pace for car. I didn't feel confident at all, honestly, this week. Car felt awful to me. The setup was hard to explain, but just didn't fit me, really. So I think that's overcoming that is my biggest issue, I guess.
Absolutely, but you still ended up with a strong result. So congratulations on P2 at the end there, and go and enjoy with your teammates.
Thank you.
And then lastly, we'll bring in the 71 of Linus Brustrom. Of course, not only a championship contender, but of course, the series admin as well. So we have to thank him for all of his hard work over the course of the last 9 months. But Linus, firstly, towards your race, you were going for that 2-stop. Were you a bit disappointed with that caution, which sort of hindered that strategy?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think Solo would have been close to make it as well, but I managed to save another lap more than I would have wanted to on that first stint, so I would have been able to push, and by my calculations happening as we were going, it would have been really close at the end. But with tires wearing off all the time, and with the wear getting lower later in the race, I think it could have worked out, but I guess we'll never know. Then that caution came out. I had to go on an alternate strategy again because I knew that I didn't have the pace to beat these guys, and maybe I could have finished 4th, so I was trying to save tires again when that caution came out later on, and that didn't work out because there was another caution after that, but in the end, somehow managed a 3rd place, which is tied for my worst result in this series in 6 seasons. So considering what track we're at, I'm not disappointed. I'm just not really looking forward to the stewards meeting that we're going to have.
Yes, it's going to be a fun one indeed. But overall, from an admin perspective, now, how would you rate the season? Of course, we had so many awesome partners and sponsors getting involved. The teams seemed to really enjoy it. The community was thriving as well. Just how would you rate it?
It's been above expectations. We've had so many amazing races all season long. Not really had any shit shows apart from maybe the second part of North Wilkesboro, but even that wasn't that bad, especially considering how good the first race was. And we've had some races going almost without caution, like Dover 2 weeks ago. Tonight was still a pretty clean race, and the turnout has stayed good all season long, and the road series as well. We had a good turnout all season long, and came down to a battle right in the last few laps here. We had a tie going in, well, almost a tie going into the final of the road series, so couldn't ask for much more. And want to send a huge shout out to Bohlins in Järbo for all their support, and H-linjen in Timrå, Area 88, Storängen, Mabi Hyrbilar, and Bright Esports, who is sponsoring the league and is my team, so that goes a bit back and forth. But yeah, and then you guys and everyone who bought race names, everyone who's tuned in, all the drivers and everyone else who's supported the community.
Yeah, it's been a great season. We thank you for all of your efforts, and hopefully, of course, see you again next season.
Yeah, thank you.
And as Linus was mentioning, I want to thank all of the partners who got involved over the course of the season to make it happen. And we do eventually have our champion. And Dylan, final thoughts of Hafley and the season in general?
I thought it was a fantastic way to end the season. I was only around for the first little bit of the season, but it was very exciting then. But I felt like Michael Hofliddison and Jesper Eriksson were the two names that we expected to be there at the end, and they certainly showed up in a big way. And if it weren't for the late caution, they probably would have been 1-2 in this race, maybe with a different winner. But nonetheless, Homestead always provides some good entertainment, and Cam, it was a blast.
Absolutely. Thoroughly enjoyed this season. To follow it through from August until May, it certainly gave us an amazing final as well, with Michael Hafliddison getting the championship with just a few laps to go, battling with his good rival Jesper Eriksson. Who is going to be the champion next time, though? We'll have to wait a few more months till the season gets revealed. But we thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time. It's been myself, Cam Roger, Dylan Coyle alongside me in the commentary box, and Dane Baird on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next time, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, we wish you a very warm goodbye.
Behöver du en bil? Mabi hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabi hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.